What's up, nerds? I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
Today we're rolling and writing our way through Imperial Settlers.
Roll and write is kind of the new fad, I guess, going on right now, where everybody gets a big pad. They don't get the pad. They get a sheet from this pad of paper, and dice are rolled. And based on what the die show, you then mark down on your sheet certain stuff, and everybody's sheet's going to ultimately look a little bit differently. One of the big things about this one is that a lot of times drafting is a part of roll and write games. This one doesn't have any drafting.
Well, you kind of draft your ability.
You'll draft a special ability at the start of the game, but at the start of the round, every round you'll have one. But when it comes to rolling the dice, though, you roll these 4 dice. This pink one shows you how many actions everybody gets and the resources that everybody gets. And it's very important. The reason why I'm stressing that is because when I first heard you roll for your actions, I went, no. Meaning I could roll a low number and you could roll a high number and you just have more actions than me. That would suck. No, that's how many actions are going to be taken that turn, which I'm totally fine with. That works out fine.
But besides the special abilities that you draft every round, it then just becomes a solo game.
Yeah, player interaction is pretty minimal from there on out after the drafting. But it's not to say that, okay, well, if we roll and that's what's out there, then everybody's sheets are going to look the same. They aren't, because you really have 2 sheets. You have one sheet where you're trying to fill out to get these special abilities, and then this other sheet where you're trying to fill up rows. You're trying to move along tracks to get the points. The further along the track, the more points you get.
And basically, you spend resources to check off boxes to get victory points.
Right. And then there's this bottom row. As you check it off, you get bridges to these areas where you can get more resources if you need them. So that's pretty powerful. But then again, these special abilities, some of those can just give you more actions or more resources or wild resources every turn. So that's pretty powerful. And there is an advanced mode, which the only reason I'm using these air quotes is because I think that should be part of every single game. I wouldn't want to play this game without it. It is where along these rows, you can, after every turn, you can circle boxes that you have already crossed off, and when you circle them, to make little shapes, and when you do that, you can get either more points or increase the power of these special abilities that you have, and that's really strong and really fun.
I think the biggest thing to know about this game is that everything is an action. So saying, I have 4 actions, I have 5 actions, may sound really cool, but it's an action to check off every box. This box is free to check off, except for it takes an action to check it off. This box takes... Well, you don't have any resources.
I know what you mean, but the way you said
free
it...
after you pay for it.
Right.
Like this one, I have to spend 3 wood to check it off, and spend an action. If you're going to harvest a wood to use as one of those 3, it's an action to harvest a wood, and then an action to check off the box that you are spending that wood on. So, a lot of actions may seem like a lot, but at the end of the day, it's not I'm just doing so much on my turn. And there were, towards the end of the game especially, there's a lot of times where I'm I have 8 actions now. I only have 6 things to do.
Or really, you're right that you can definitely get with an action analysis paralysis where, you have so many actions because you pumped up this special ability right here where now, if the dice are showing the same face, instead of getting 1 extra action, you get 18 extra actions! And then you're like, well, I've already harvested everything. There aren't that many resources out there. And I think that's right. I don't think there are, in the 10 rounds that you play, I don't think there are physically enough resources out there to fill every single track all the way. Especially because you can dump resources on this fortress. You can dump resources with, what are these cards? Export? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, there's just aren't enough resources to do every single thing. So you do have to make some tough decisions sometimes.
It is overall a really simple game, though. And most roll and writes are fairly simple. Some of them, they're all pretty easy to grasp. A lot of them, the complexity comes into strategy of, what's the best way to use this, or I'm going to draft it, and do I want to draft for me or hate draft, or is there a way I can balance the 2 of them? This one is pretty simple, and not, and it's a bad game, but if you're playing Fleet the Dice game and the Ganshan games or the Clever games, right. And the more, not heavy, but the more intense roll and writes.
Steamrollers is even more intense than this.
Yeah, and this one it's kind of up there with Corinth, the Days of Wonder roll and write, where it may be a good way to break them into roll and writes, but if you're like super into roll and write games, you're going to play this in a few times and I think kind of be done with it.
Yeah, again, I don't want to be negative on it because I do like it, and there is one big thing that this thing has that we haven't played and we haven't mentioned yet, is a one-player adventure mode with all these like 42 different unique sheets, and that is awesome. But I just don't play one-player games.
There is apparently online a variant for like laminating those and using wet erase markers that the designer like put out there and said, this is how you should play this game. But, and honestly, it was a whole big debate on Board Game Spotlight for a little bit, that like, that apparently makes this game wonderful.
Oh, okay.
But it's not in the rule book, and if that's how the game should be played, you shouldn't have to go like that's almost like a variant you have to go find to make it good. And so I feel like it's not fair to judge this game based off a variant online. Like, we're reviewing what
comes
you get in the box, because how many people who buy board games are on Board Game Geek? A lot of you probably, but more people probably aren't. So what comes in the box is a little, not like lackluster, it's very intro-y.
Yeah, I mean, again, but I like Quicks, I like Bloom, I like really light little roll and write games. Now this one of the advantages that those two have over this one is that they're more travel sized, they're physically smaller, but taking it for what it is, comparing this to other intro-y games, knowing that it's a light game, all that kind of stuff, it's still a good game.
Yeah.
I still enjoy it. I think it comes down to real tough decisions. You can play it real fast. Yeah, you could do like a speed round where we just like roll the dice. Okay, take the card you want. Okay, everybody go. You know? So there's value to that. I have fun with it. Yeah. It's not going to be, it's not game of the year. It's not going to be my favorite roll and write ever. But I certainly would not turn down playing this game again.
Yeah, I definitely don't have any specific, I didn't like X about it.
Ooh, I do have one.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to look really like it's written, like all the lines, everything looks, the typography looks like it's handwritten. Yeah, it's sketchy. It looks like it's drawn. This is on graph paper and stuff, and with watercolors. And that just doesn't really do it for me. And also, it's Imperial. It's in the Imperial Settlers universe, and outside of the name and like the types of resources and this little person here, like we have Imperial Settlers. I haven't played it in like, I want to say almost 3 years, but we're gonna play it again. Expect a review for this sometime. But other than that, I really didn't feel that theme come through. Again, it's been a while, but.
So do you think they kind of cashed in on how big that game is to sell their rolling right?
I mean, kind of.
Because I haven't played that one yet. We're going to play it soon, but...
I mean, if they're going to put it into a universe, I mean, it works, We need to put a theme on it. I guess that works. But I wasn't like, oh, this totally feels like
Imperial Settlers. If you love Imperial Settlers and you're like, a roll and write version, like Fleet to Fleet the dice game. Like, it was still a very different game.
Well, I mean, it's hard to take a board game and translate it perfectly into... I think Steamrollers is a better example of taking Railways of the World and putting it onto a roll and write. Like, Fleet the Dice game was still like... I was like, oh, I remember the shrimp kind of does this and this, but it still is different.
I guess the game's very different.
Right, but anywho, again, I hope this review doesn't come off too negative for you, because, again, we like light roll and writes. I think it's a good game. Excited to play it again. If you're saying, is this contender for Game of the Year? I would say probably not.
I would say if this game existed in a vacuum, if this was like my first roll and write game, I think this is super cool. I love getting to cross things off. I love that like you have to spend resources and there's ways to go get more resources, but you can only harvest that tree once ever. That's really cool. But in terms of roll and write, is this going to be the first one I pick off the shelf? Is this going to be the third or fourth I pick off the shelf? Probably not. If you wanted to play with me, I am happy to play this game, and I'm going to have a really good time playing it. So if you want to pick up a copy of this game, we're going to have a link in the description box down below where you can buy one for yourself.
And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, do all that kind of crazy stuff, because while you're doing all that crazy stuff, you'll never be bored. Haha, I got it. I said it at the end there.
So if you want to pick up a copy of this game, we're going to have a description. Buy it.
Just do it.
So